I'm Ronan, this is Wadsworth. Welcome to Now Z Here, Hufflepuff Pride Edition. Tea update. I had my appointment. I have the prescription. Due to some potential insurance questions, I haven't actually started it yet. So not much to talk about on that front, but it is Harry Potter weekend. The Pottermore website recently relaunched the Sorting Hat, and J.K. Rowling has announced 4 new wizarding schools, one of which is the American School, which will be featured in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So all week last week, everything on my Facebook wall was Harry Potter. Specifically, everybody getting themselves sorted again. For those who don't know or who need a reminder, I know you're out there. The school, Hogwarts in Harry Potter, is broken up into 4 houses of students, and each house is defined by a particular personality characteristic. Gryffindors are known for their bravery, Ravenclaws for their wit, Hufflepuffs for their loyalty, Slytherins for their ambition. I was 11 years old when I first read the first Harry Potter book. It had just come out recently, and actually as the books came out, the second and third came out once a year. So for those first few years, I was the same age as Harry Potter. Then they started to take a little bit longer between books, but even by that time, myself and all the people who had been around that age and started reading those books at that young age were hooked in. We spent our formative years with this incredible world and these amazing adventures, and then the movies started coming out, and those carried us pretty much through our college years and our 20s. And I don't think anyone would deny, even if they're not particularly a fan themselves, that in creating this universe, J.K. Rowling contributed to the definition of a generation. What some people might not realize or think about too often is the idea that she actually also gave us a lens through which we continue to define ourselves. And she did that through the houses and the concept of sorting. Of course, when you read these books, the question everyone wants to ask is, what house would you be in if you put on the sorting hat? And some people might make the assumption that, oh, everybody wants to be a Gryffindor, right? Because they're the heroes and Slytherins are the evil ones and nobody really pays attention to the Ravenclaws or the Hufflepuffs. And they're so wrong. I can't tell you exactly when this started, but I know it started pretty soon once the books got going. The idea, for example, that Slytherins are not necessarily evil. They are defined by their ambition, and yes, they are described as cunning and ruthless. But a person having ambition and having the drive to achieve their goals, that is not at all an evil thing. And it really wasn't long after the book started coming out that people I know started identifying as Slytherin and started claiming that definition for themselves. And that first layer of analysis, that idea that the assumptions that are made about each house don't have to be the reality of the people who exist within them, started leading to much deeper analysis. The Harry Potter Zodiac was a big one. I remember that from way back. You could go through and read these paragraphs of analysis, like, what is a Pisces Ravenclaw? What is a Capricorn Slytherin? How do the archetypes that are presented in the Zodiac interact with the archetypes presented by the houses, and what sort of personalities do those create? People started talking about secondary houses, because we know that people don't always fit exactly into the categories of their house. Even Harry had potential for Slytherin. So therefore, it is possible to be a part Gryffindor and a part Hufflepuff, a Griffinpuff, or a Huffledore if you feel more on the Hufflepuff side. Now the stories have existed for so long, and people have not stopped thinking about this. You can find extremely detailed analysis, almost like one of those Myers-Briggs tests. Which house represents your ideals versus which house do you actually act like most of the time? Do you put on the facade of a certain house under certain situations? Have you learned to imitate a certain house's characteristics for your own benefit? And that is why, although I think the Pottermore Sorting Hat quiz is amazing in the way that it frames its questions, it is a little bit silly. Because hundreds and hundreds and thousands of Potter fans have long ago decided what their house is. We know, we have done the detailed analysis. And so now we have people going to the site, as happened the first time that the site debuted actually as well, taking the quiz and getting, for instance, Slytherin when they don't feel at all that they're Slytherin. And you can't retake the test. So then what, you can't use the site. unless you make another account. Of course, you can make another account as long as you have multiple email addresses. And of course, it is just a computer quiz, and it is just a label. But the way in which we identify with these personality types and these character traits, because they are what we value in ourselves and in others, and what we want to encourage in the world, that is why it feels so important and so personal. And that's why we maybe want to flip a table when we take the quiz and we don't get the result we're expecting. Not because we don't value bravery or knowledge or loyalty or ambition necessarily, but because we see something else as much more personally important. Anyway, the hat does take personal preference into account, and that's something they left out. So clearly Hufflepuff is my house. Hufflepuffs have been having our own little moment lately. The stereotype always used to be, well, Hufflepuff's the throwaway house. That's where you go when you don't really fit in anywhere else, or when you really have nothing to offer. But Helga Hufflepuff didn't just want to take in the kids who didn't fit in with the other houses. These are the traits that are typically assigned to Hufflepuffs. Hardworking, loyal, patient, and kind. That doesn't sound like throwaway to me. And that's why I have Puff Pride. I kind of wonder what's going to happen once Fantastic Beasts comes out and we find out more about this American school. Does Ilvermorny have houses, and is that going to change the language of American Potter fans in the way that we relate to each other and relate to the Harry Potter universe? I don't know, but it's going to be exciting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Always be changing.